You may be wondering exactly where I am. Green, lush vegetation, some interesting wildlife. Most people don't think they live near anywhere like this. Actually, I am in one of the most urban and crowded places in the country, between Southall and Hayes in West London. Many of the residents of Hayes live in these flats, and they have all of this right on their doorstep. This is the Minet Country Park, a beautiful green space, perfect for wildlife, walking the dog, having a picnic or playing a bit of footy. But until very recently, this place wasn't anything like this at all. In fact, it was the very opposite. For years and years, this piece of land was neglected and used for a lot of very different things. There was once a large car boot sale which left mountains of rubbish.
I think it's much better than when it started, because when it started there was lots of rubbish there and it was dangerous.
People took advantage of the space and just used it as a dump.
Off-road motorbikes churned up the ground, leaving a muddy mess. Burnt-out cars, washing machines and lorry tyres were dumped here because people were too lazy or too selfish to dispose of them properly. It was a pretty ugly-looking place, but it hasn't always been like that. Before London grew to the busy place it now is, this land was used in several different ways, including farmland where cattle grazed in the fields and water meadows. What the area needed was a transformation. It needed to be changed in a very dramatic way. We may not notice things changing, but as we look around us over time, we can see that things do change. For example, I don't see anything different when I look in the mirror each morning, but over time I have looked like this, and this, and this. Transformation. Some of the animals living here at Minet Country Park have been through their own transformations too. Tadpoles turn into frogs, and who would have thought that beautiful butterflies were once not so beautiful caterpillars? A group of people just like you and me living near Minet Country Park wanted the ugly and neglected area to be transformed too, into a beautiful place with room for people and wildlife. The community-based Christian charity called Rocha got to work and encouraged people to campaign for the land to be changed into a country park.
But when we first came here, it was a real mess. The whole site was covered in rubbish. But there were two things that gave me hope. One was that in amongst the rubbish there were birds, animals, butterflies. It was obvious that this place could be really good. And the other thing was that I believe in a God who made this world and who wants us to look after it and wants it to be a good place. And with God's help, I really believe things could change.
And after 2 years of campaigning, the council agreed to transform this place from an ugly duckling into a beautiful swan.
First, we had to clear all the rubbish. And there was so much. There was one field where it was waist deep. And once all that was cleared, then the big diggers moved in and thousands of tons of rubble and soil were brought in to make the hills that you see around. And included in those hills is much of the old Wembley football stadium, buried here on Minet.
"18 months later, there is now an abundance of wildlife. 20 species of butterflies, along with dragonflies such as the broad-bodied chaser. The pond teems with aquatic wildlife. And over 100 different types of bird have been seen, including kestrels and herons. The whole area is almost unrecognisable. This is where the car boot fair used to be. And to prove it, you can see the gasometers in the background. So, apart from Rocha and the council, who else was involved in this project?
For us, it was so important to involve the whole community, children as well as adults. So to begin with, hundreds of local people, including children, simply cleared up rubbish into huge piles that could be taken away. And then much later on, we had lots of school groups come to plant trees, thousands of trees. It's just so important that local people feel that this is their park and it wouldn't have changed without them.
Being surrounded by buildings and rubbish and vandalism can make us feel pretty sad and depressed. But a trip out to a brilliant green open space can lift our spirits. We can go wild and explore. Hey! And play a bit of footy.
Now that it's all be finished, I think the playground's a good place to play in, and that if you want to look for mini beasts, it's a good place to look for that and search for birds.
I like to live there because it's really pretty and I like all the flowers there and the creatures that live there.
It's a lot more greener and people can actually come here and enjoy the views and animals and plants that are here now.
So, even if you live in a town, there could be a green space like this near you that needs looking after. Maybe there is a place where you live that needs transforming. So what kinds of trees are these?
These are birch trees and they're native to this area.
Right, so how long will it be before they're fully grown?
It depends, like different trees grow at different rates, but it could take up to and over 20 years until they're as big as some of the other trees you see around the park.
Right. Perhaps your school playground needs brightening up with some trees or flowers. Ask your teachers what can be done. Or maybe something is happening in your local park. Or persuade some adults to make it better for wildlife. Remember, you're never very far away from a beautiful green open space. Go find it and enjoy it! You can contact Rocha by email, post or phone. The contact details are on our website at www.arocha.org.uk.